And now, stop me if you've heard this before on the Toddcast podcast.
You've heard Todd Kerns' music in some form or another since the late 80s, starting with The Age of Electric, then into Static and Stereo, of course his solo stuff, Sin City Sinners. He's also part of the driving force in Slash, featuring Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators. He's the bass player in that band. And he's one of the nicest, funniest, best storytellers in rock and roll, hands down, and you will not see a harder worker. Beyond the bands we just mentioned, he also does the Kiss Cruise, Decades at Sea, as part of Bruce Kulick's band. He also has a weekly podcast, which is slammed with a virtual who's who of the music world. A couple years ago, Todd Kerns got a star on BC's Walk of Fame on Granville Street in Vancouver. Well-deserved. You can see him in an indie film called The Whiskey Man and the Rider. He's launched his own clothing line called Damn It Wear, Anti-Star Designs. As they say, no rest for the wicked. And the last time that Todd was a guest, he's been on 4 times now, we talked about touring Brazil with Slash. He shared some thoughts on Marvel's Endgame and the finale of Game of Thrones. The Ramones, Kiss, GNR, they all came up. So did Aliens, Soulmates, Legalized Marijuana, Gary Clark Jr. And stop me if you've heard this before. We made Todd pick between Star Wars and Star Trek.
Oh boy, that's a loaded question. Here's where I always land on this, and people always kind of, what? I always land on Star Trek, and I'll tell you why. Here we go. Ready?
Okay.
The funny thing is, when I was a little kid, I was always taken by the fact, and this is weird to consider now that I realize, how much I was thinking about it, was the fact that, and I think it speaks volumes even more now, is the fact that I couldn't have put into words exactly what I was thinking, but now when you watch Star Trek, go back and watch original series in 1966 or whatever you want to watch. There's a black woman who was an officer on the bridge. There's a Russian there. There's a Japanese guy. There's, all these different people. There's an alien guy there, and they're all working together. They're all officers. In 1966, most of this would have been like ludicrous. You know what I mean? Like the idea of all these different people like working together. You know what I mean? Kind of making a thing happen. But I think I sort of took that and I thought to myself, so in the 24th century, or whichever century they were kind of, projecting towards, that all the problems that we are, and let's be honest, currently dealing with, will all be dealt with, we'll all be cool, we'll all be hanging out, and we'll all be working together. And I think that's interesting to me, because the cool thing about Star Wars is it's a fascinating fantasy-type thing. It's the most fun in the world. Like, I have dedicated so many hours of my life to Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
But the funny thing is, when I take the step back, I look at Star Trek and I go, this is what we could be. This is what Gene Roddenberry was trying to say, like, we as human beings could be this, Captain Kirk is from Idaho or Ohio, I can't remember exactly. He's a guy and then when you watch Star Wars, I go, that's where the connection kind of gets lost for me. It's a fantasy thing, but I don't know, we're not those people. You know what I mean? Like, we're not Luke Skywalker and Han Solo. They're from Tatooine and
right. We don't have the Force.
System,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. But these people on the Enterprise are all people from, wherever. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where, and I know that that's a long, nerdy conversation to have with people. And I've had this, and it gets loud. And I'm like, dude, why are we, I always think it's really hilarious that we're like, people can get heated about something as ridiculous as science fiction, but it's also part of the fun of being a human being. But like what I say is there's a hopefulness about these things, about the future and being able to kind of come together and, the planet Earth one day will be, that in the future, Paris is the capital of Earth, on Star Trek. That's a fascinating thing to consider, that we have to have a capital on our planet to represent, the planet is an interesting thing to me.
Stop Me If You've Heard This Before on the Toddcast podcast is brought to you by Puff, purveyors of quality cannabis accessories since 1995. Use promo code TODCAST and get 20% off regularly priced accessories and apparel in-store and online at puffpipes.ca.
Do you ever watch a TV show set in a historical time period and think, how accurate is this really? But also, does it matter if it's accurate or not?
Nefer-TV is a new podcast about shows set in ancient times. This season, we're recapping every episode of the show Spartacus, Blood and Sand.
I'm Ann Foster, and I have never seen this show before.
And I'm Gina Berry, and I have watched this show maybe too many times.
Join us every other Monday on the Nefer-TV podcast as we discuss the real history behind Spartacus, Blood, and Sand.
Follow Nefer-TV, that's Nefer-TV, wherever you get your podcasts.
You've watched them from the outside your whole life. On TV, on stage, on the cover. The success that always looks like it happened to someone on a different planet. But what if it didn't? I'm Evelyn, and I've spent over 25 years in entertainment, producing for some of the biggest names in Hollywood. And here's what I learned. The distance between you and them, it's a lot shorter than anyone's letting on. On my podcast, Reppin', I sit down with the people you've been watching, and I ask them who they actually are. Not the brand, the person. Where they started, what it cost them, what almost broke them. Their grit, their courage, their resilience, and the lessons they've learned. It's all yours for the taking. Reppin', wherever you listen.
Do you love Disney? Do you love top 10 lists? Then you're going to love our podcast, Disney Countdown. Hi, I'm Megan, the Magical Millennial.
And Biscuits, I'm Jeremy, aka Jarendell, and we are the hosts of the hit Disney podcast, Disney Countdown.
On every episode of our fun and family-friendly show, we count down our top 10 lists of all things Disney. The parks, the movies, the music, the food, the lore. There is nothing we don't cover on our show, right, Jeremy?
Ooh, girl, you know we are famous for rabbit holes, Disney-themed games, and fun facts you didn't know you needed, but you definitely need in your life. So if you are looking for a healthy dose of Disney magic, check out Disney Countdown wherever you get your podcasts.